to another edition of Botcasters. Today with Olivera Bay. Welcome, Olivera.
Hello, hi Doran. Thank you for having me.
Well, great that you're here because you are in.
Conversational AI.
Well, I actually meant which country, but I should have said
I'm in Canada.
that. You're
I'm
actually in
in
Canada
Canada, near
and
Toronto,
in conversational AI.
and in conversational AI.
That was
The
fast.
country of conversational AI.
Um, Please introduce yourself properly, not
Yeah,
just your
sure.
name, but why
Yes.
you're here.
So my full name is Olivera Bay, and I'm here joining you today to talk about conversational AI and different aspects of it. We're also going to take a chatbot and we're going to walk through and test it out. So that should be like more of an interactive piece. But essentially, I've taken you up on this finally to have this chat because we've known each other for some time, and you're doing great work with Botcasters, just bringing in different people from different facets of this great industry of ours, conversational AI, generative AI. And I've been watching, enjoying your shows for some time now. So thank you for the value that you bring. And myself, I actually come from a marketing design background as a graphic designer and art director, as well as a UX writer. And then in 2020, I studied UX design at UFT, and then I switched into conversational AI. And for the last 3.5 years, I've been working at different US companies, working on chatbots and voice bots, companies like LivePerson, Serens, and I've had a chance to work on many different types of industries and really have a thorough kind of experience. So it's been a wild ride since joining, and as well as Gen AI coming into the picture more and more, and having that in the fold. And during this journey, I've also been part of an organization, nonprofit, Conversational Collective, which I know you've heard about. And it's essentially been like a labor of love, all volunteer based. And it started off in Austin, Texas, in person, and then quickly switched into online events. Featuring different experts and talking about different facets of conversational AI. And we've probably had over 20 events over the course of 3-4 years. And I've been in this for 3 years with the wonderful crew that we have there, and it's given me a chance to just meet many people, um, network, all the good stuff, and a lot of fun through the process. So that's definitely an organization I'm really fond to be part of. As well, I have been recently involved with as a founder in a financial AI company. So that's been something that's been exciting on my end, getting into it. And here we are, and we've been in touch all through this like wild journey of ours.
Let's go back in time a little bit. Because if you look at how the trade, as if we can call it that, changed from when you started to how you do conversation design now, and the impact AI has had on the actual work.
Yes, definitely. It's been, starting with NLU based, rule based chatbots and evolving to Gen AI. It's been quite the evolution just in terms of, switching gears in how we are still using the same skills in terms of writing, but really it's more of a mindset shift, is learning how to speak to the machine to get the right output for the end user. But the single thread that's consistent throughout it has always been to speak about user needs, and what are the user needs, what are the problems we're trying to solve, what are our users' most biggest pain points, and how are we going to solve them hopefully better with Gen AI. Because as we know, like one thing it's really good at is intent routing, so detecting the intent and bringing the user to the right intent and the right part in the in what they need rather than having to take them through an entire experience. And so it's much better at detecting where to plug the user in so they can get to their endpoint faster. And then the other thing it's been really great at is data collection. Again, it can detect the information it already has in the system and then skip those parts and bring them to the place that it still needs to gather some data. Recently, I had the chance to work on a bot exactly like that for data collection, where there was a lot of data points to collect, and through Gen AI, we have the ability to easily skip those parts and gather only all of those pieces of data that are missing or outstanding, so that we can get them to resolve their query quicker.
And if you then look at the fun, because a lot of our work is having fun, um,
Yes.
and it's like a magic word. If you're not having fun, you're doing something wrong, my opinion. But if you look at the fun, the introduction of Gen AI better the fun? Did it up the fun, or became it less fun, or did you get a lot of new frustrations?
Yeah, it's a really good point, because if it's not fun, I'm not getting out of bed. So for me, it's always the fun is the problem solving piece, the logic piece. I enjoy the logic piece. The writing piece is definitely something that drives me as well. Um, but understanding how the logic piece works with the prompting is really important, because we have to strike a balance with having the right prompts, and minimizing the chance of hallucination. And that's like a constant battle. So we're always finding new ways, but it's always finding new ways to hallucinate. So I don't think it's we have to shift a definition of what feels satisfying, as conversational designers, in terms of our expectations, because well, we always like one day it's working great, it's giving us the right answers, and maybe the next day, it's found a new way of you know understanding the data we're giving it. So we are always getting to know each other.
Can I ask you a question about that? Because one of the things I've seen is that indeed today you have it works fine and everything you put in and that comes out, uh, that's according to plan, and then all of a sudden the model gets an update, and then you look again, it's like, how did B become C?
Hmm.
And you don't really understand. I mean, they tell you they had an update, and it's a little bit what the update was, but it doesn't explain the changes. And I gather you have that as well. That's what you meant. Next morning you wake up, there was an update, you have no control, and boom.
That's right.
So
Yes.
how do
And
you
then
take our listeners, our viewers? So how do you deliver a stable solution? Because you have control over in a structured bot, you have control over everything, and here all of a sudden you have no control or little control. So how do you manage that part to? Because assumingly, if it doesn't hallucinate, it actually becomes very stable. You give it data, it does what it needs to do, and boom, here you have the right answer. But that's the data part. But the model itself, you have no control. So how do you manage that?
that's right. It's the key is ongoing testing. And as we finding identifying those new changes in the output, we have to go back and see, okay, we have to try, we just have to keep trying different ways and get it back to a place where it's delivering what we want. So it's a lot more questions than there are answers until we get to a place where there's a little more answers, speaking in more abstract terms.
Yeah, but you would assume, or I would have assumed that with Gen AI, not having to define all the intents, right, and what comes behind it, it should be eventually less work. But the way you're explaining it now, it actually becomes a continuous flow of work, not internally, but because of an external factor. And if you think about that's that's kind of something that should be cheaper in the end. All of a sudden, it's not cheaper because of that.
Yes, yeah,
So
yeah. It requires more work, more maintenance. Absolutely, that's the kind of a paradox. Is we had a certain expectation that okay, once we set it up and it works, our work is done. But that's not the case because there's external factors like the models being updated, where we always have to be anticipating. Okay, what is ways it could go wrong, and then but yeah, it creates more work in fact, which means that we could still see how far we are in terms of really mastering this new way of working and the type of work we do.
and you haven't found or seen an automated way to do that, to to reduce that work.
There's definitely, when it comes to prompting, there's definitely techniques that we have seen and that I use in my own work, be it giving examples, giving really clear instructions, asking it to create information a certain way. So I think that is always getting like finessed, and we're finding new ways to improve that part. But the part about the model and then it coming in to handle that, um, that's still something we're like figuring out.
Okay, got it.
Mhm.
So, in terms of doing a project, that's something to take into account that it actually creates, unless we get this under control, it creates more work, different work, but more work. So,
Exactly.
as I was, everybody thinks, oh, AI makes it cheaper. No, first it makes it more expensive, and then
And then
eventually it makes it cheaper, but it takes time. That
yes.
is okay. And if you look at the technology you've been using, the platforms, do you have you seen a shift there? Have you seen platforms staying very rigid in the structured bots, or all platforms are changing? Okay, they're becoming like hybrid platforms. Um, what do you see there?
Well, I'm seeing more and more like no code platforms. I'm seeing overall, I'm just seeing like a shift toward agentic workflows. A lot of talk about how to create ways to optimize the work we do day to day. And not just for conversation designers, for any line of work, how can we automate some, our individual work, um, and and maybe even across organizations, how can we create certain agents that are creating the same kind of work and that can streamline things. There's definitely, I think there's definitely a huge movement towards that. And I think we're going to get better and better at that as we create those processes. We have in call centers, agents have their own co-pilots. They're doing things for them. And then, people are, designers are having their own co-pilots as well. I'm not personally using any at this time, but I'm definitely exploring some, as a founder, ways to help to do sales in a more streamlined ways, for example.
We get to that a bit later. Now we saw this week an interesting disruption in Windows machines because of a software update of some security software. I forgot the name of the company. American software, used a lot in cloud solutions, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and that brings me to the question: if a lot of companies are moving towards using AI, agentic, or other ways as a co-pilot, um, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work, like the example we saw, people couldn't use their computers, the airlines, everything was a mess all of a sudden. Um, what's your view on that? Are we becoming too dependent on technology, and or should there be always like a backup scenario not using technology or very simple technology?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, in the sense that the dependency on technology, I think it's ever present. Just with any kind of device, period. Even if we look at a cell phone, it's not a cell phone; it's an actual computer
It's
that I
more
take with
powerful
me.
than the computer we used to have on our desk.
Exactly. So, you know, basic things like calling or emailing, become, things we are, very dependent on. Um, However, I do think that certain lines of business still rely on in person contact. Um, so I think from that point of view, that's something that is not going to be automated, but the supports around those calls and or in-person meetings that can create that interest and helping to like maybe close deals and so on. I think that's always going to remain there, but to your point, yes, we are definitely dependent, and if there is a crash in the system, we will suffer, and we need to have some alternate tools in place for that. And I think that it would be smart for companies to think of alternates, even in terms of communication platforms. Right? Let's say one communication platform goes down, it would be good to have another one that can at least take over should one of the big ones no longer be available,
Yeah,
because yeah, I think that it's really, I think those companies that look after those plan B are the ones that are going to sustain themselves in those crash periods. And the way things are going with just threats, general threats to security, cyber security, and so on. Um, the systems out there are getting better on both sides, and I think that's going to be an ongoing tension there that you know goes on, because you know it's always improving. So those people that are companies that are after our personal data and so on are going to always find new ways to get it, because there's a lot of value there for them. But for us, I think it always comes down to, okay, the convenience versus the privacy, and how do we strike a balance between the two?
yeah. While talking with you, I realized there's an inherent risk. We do our utmost to not to deflect, but to make customers enthusiastic about a chatbot and a channel. And um, when you do that, and it's a great experience for the customer, though, that's the preferred, or you know, probably it can be the preferred channel, especially if you can do transactional stuff. Now, if you're dependent on an LLM or some AI function and it doesn't function, I was wondering, it's like, okay, if live agents can't perform this service that well because they can't give access to information that fast or whatever, I was like, yeah, that might have an impact on your business if you have no proper backup plan, and the amazing experience turns into a very bad experience because they can't reach you over the phone. You don't have enough agents, or your software is not equipped to do that, to handle whatever happens if your chatbot goes down. I'm like, yeah, when we design a chatbot, we never think of a backup scenario. What if it doesn't work? And how do you make sure that the experience in the other channel is as good or almost as good?
Yeah, I think that's that's a real concern. Again, those companies that are looking after a backup, that's going to be essential for them. And like you said, like that consistency between channels is what allows the customer to move freely from one channel to another, and that's really important, because then they're not limited. So I think that what you're calling out is very important. Like making sure that each channel is protected, whether that's their social media channel, chatbot, website. What are some of the alternatives in case systems go down? It's a really, really important thing.
Yeah, and we occupy ourselves just with the chatbot, not with the other ones, and we at least should ask the question, okay, what if?
Very, very important question.
Well, we usually don't do it, but it is very
No.
important. It's actually a strategic question. It's like, okay, how do we serve our customers, and what if what channels do we have, and what if it doesn't work?
Yes, yes.
So
And I think those companies that are strictly online, not in person, those are they have the most to lose, don't they?
um, well, if you don't have bricks, so to say, if you don't have a real store or something to go to, but um, there's other companies that don't consider them just online companies. They have a warehouse and everything else, um, but they need to be reachable by phone. You don't have to literally go there, but you need to be able to call them, and someone needs to be able to help you. And if you've automated everything in the whole process, then usually you don't have that many agents to handle customer traffic. If you have to wait for an hour to get someone on the phone to solve a problem, uh, you wouldn't be happy. I wouldn't be happy.
No, not at all. No, those
So
are really important questions to for all businesses is to really have that backup contingency plan.
because here's the other thing. If I don't know how you view this, and I try to bring it up in as many conversations as I can to hear other people's opinion. Um, if companies are becoming totally dependent or very dependent on, first of all, cloud computing, and secondly, AI, and I think those two are connected, because you see that the cloud computing companies are pushing AI like crazy. Why? Because that's where they make the money. They're getting all these companies hooked, the near AI model, hooked on using AI. Eventually, that'll lead to firing staff because they've automated stuff, especially if they do it in an agentic way. And then they probably will raise the price on all their customers. Yeah, cloud computing becomes more expensive, and AI becomes more expensive. Um, so basically, you as a company trying to push AI and cloud computing, make things more efficient. At the same time, you're handing over your strategic advantage and cost control over to big tech, which somehow I'm a bit worried about that, and other people are worried about that too. And it's an inherent risk, and it's not mitigated by anyone or any company. To just okay, we're a Microsoft company. Okay, well, so let's do Microsoft. Let's use Copilot. It's not even safe. Um, we know now. So the Europeans start to understand that if you use American software, that basically whatever you do, even if the server is in Europe and that's compliant with GDPR, the American government, based on the Patriot Act, could look into your data at any given time, based on the Patriot Act, even though the server is on European soil, because it's an American company. So I see all these things coming together, and I see all these unmanaged inherent risks. I don't know. How do you view that? Do you have a view on that? Maybe you never thought about it. Could also be.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think there's a lot to unpack there in terms of U.S. having access to European information. That I feel like there's a lot going on right now with bias information. There's a lot going on with access to like user data, um, and like as we know, some of the major the major player of data, where everything goes through one one network, and our a lot of our data is sold. So that's been an ongoing problem with the monopoly, and the way that monopoly is run. And a lot of people have expressed, um, discontent and beyond, as well as there's been some lawsuits and so on that show that things are moving in the direction of trying to really address the how our data is treated. And yeah, I mean, my position is that we should have control over our privacy of our data, and our data shouldn't be sold. On the other hand, there is some benefit to getting certain ads. Well, I'm not saying all ads are bad, because sometimes those ads are cued towards my demographic and my preferences, which is not bad. But the problem is that the data is not de-identified, so that it's still floating around. Companies have my data, your data, and how do we get to a place of what companies are offering us an alternative, and what kind of an uphill battle do they have to make in context of the monopoly in order to make it. And um, how much, like, people, yourself and myself, were immersed in this world, right? But I wonder, how much does the average person, what do they feel about their data and how their data is being treated? How much do they care about that? I personally, I do care about it, but then at the same time, I think in our digital world, there's a lot of uh, how you say, where you have to do trade-offs. We're doing a lot of trade-offs, and I mean, like, we're trading off sometimes convenience for um, things that we would prefer, in a kind of more pure way. For example, we're using a company to sign in to other companies, right? And so in that process, we give up some of our privacy in trade off of that convenience factor. So we ourselves, we have to be conscious, how much are we're already trading off our information. We have ways to, but it requires us to take more steps to protect our data. So it's, as consumers, we do have the option to do that. It's just also a question, how willing are people to put in the effort needed to protect their data or minimize the risk. Um, so those are some of, top of mind for me. um, is where do we go from here in terms of minimizing that, our privacy is being jeopardized. What are we doing, and what can we do? What's within our control to do?
It's, it's an interesting point you raise here, because if you look at data, for instance, cookies, they make it so difficult to say no, and then you have to go through all the, not all of them, but so they want us to say yes. And then if you look at that, how many companies are getting your information? It, it is actually shocking. Any cookie should be forbidden 100% because it's ridiculous. But that brings me to another point. Um, if you design a chatbot, and in that chatbot you ask the consumer for his or her information, I came to the realization that actually nobody in the business, and I think they should, ask or tells the customer, if you give us this data, or the company, if you give us this data, we are going to do X, Y, Z with it. Do you comply or do you accept? Nobody does that because it's too much of a barrier to give the data. But if you think about the legislation and also honesty and transparency, we actually, as a design principle, we should say, okay, if we ask for personal data, everybody, we should tell the customer, this is what we're going to do with the data. And if you don't want it to be stored just for this conversation, or email you the conversation, or being able to contact you for customer service purposes, and after that, delete it. I think we should give the customer that option. Probably by giving the option, he will not ask you to delete it. He's happy you're going to serve him, but you're being fair and transparent and honest about it. But we're not,
Oh,
to be
mhm.
honest.
No, I think that's a really great call out because no, they make it so easy for us to just accept. And when we don't accept, we reject, we have to go through all these like settings. And I think we're just so used to just doing everything quickly now with our devices that our level of patience is low. And I think that companies are really riding on that. They're really betting on making adding obstacles for us, and then that means that we're going to go the easier route, the path of least resistance. Um, and but but we're really not okay with it. We don't want every company to track us. And yet, like, to your point, like, why aren't they asking us? There should be a process through which, before they even tell us to accept these cookies, to understand what they're going to do with that data. But that is definitely not the way things are done.
Yeah, but that's the cookie part. That's one part. But also in the chatbots we design, there's no cookies there. It's the same thing. If you want service, we need your information. That makes sense, of course. And there's a difference if you're already a customer or not yet. You should have a distinction between that. But if you're not a customer yet, you should have control over what they do with your data. We don't. We don't ask. We don't tell
No.
them. We don't. They just get an email, and under the email there might be something unsubscribe or whatever. But it's all vague and complicated.
Hmm.
Whereas if you ask permission for good purposes in the beginning of the customer the choice, I don't think he'll be angry with you or say, "Oh, you can't do anything." Yeah,
Yeah. I think there's more and more companies. I've worked on chatbots. More and more companies are having the terms and condition
in the
uh,
chatbot.
in the chatbots. I'm
Okay,
seeing that, and I've even seen one
who reads that?
who reads that exactly. Yes, there's a
Shouldn't we
link.
design an AI that
Yeah.
is basically over every term and condition and just picks out the things what you're saying yes to, the most important things, and then summarize like a Chrome extension, and then summarizes for you the terms and conditions. Here are the five most important points in these terms and conditions. You can or cannot say we advise you to say no or whatever.
Yeah, yeah, that's actually a brilliant idea. Like, if there was a way to distill through an extension, I think that would be really, really helpful for users across, whether that be chatbots or websites. Um, Definitely, I think that there is a need for that because, to your point, the links and the long legal jargon makes it, again, one more obstacle on the road to really understanding how that information is being used.
There's this legal saying: if you can't convince them, confuse them. I think if you look at terms and conditions, that's really it. It's, the average consumer gets confused because he's like, I'm not going to read 20 pages of terms and conditions in many
Exactly.
letters.
Yeah, and they probably make them longer on purpose so that to discourage reading.
That is a statement. Might be in trouble here. Um, in the beginning, you said you were a founder. Um, AI and finance, finance and AI. So maybe you can elaborate on that. What you're doing, how you're using AI or going to use AI in your new endeavors.
Yes. So the company that I'm involved with does lending for commercial equipment. And so at the base of this business is sales.
Well,
And
maybe we should explain. Commercial equipment is like trucks or
yes,
machinery. Okay.
so it's industries such as agriculture, for example, or also other companies like, let's say, exactly like trucks. It can also be construction. So if you imagine, let's say there's in my area, there could be 300 companies that deal with agriculture. So think about like tractors. And so those companies need lending in order to purchase those tractors. And so they would be looking at lending on, let's say, 100 tractors, and so substantial amount in order to move through and get that kind of equipment. So really what we want to do is we want to facilitate that lending process. People are no longer purchasing through like the same old banks that they've always purchased. They're much more open to finding deals through not always the same bank. So which is great because it opens them up to more options, because there are a lot more options. And our company is both U.S. and Canada, so we have the ability to work with both markets because some have equipment in both companies or both countries. So essentially, like our work is still like face to face sales. I think it's still that's the root of this kind of business is face to face, because we're still looking at more traditional market. And we are looking at ways to automate the sales process and sales cycle in order to speed up the process and make it easier for companies to get approved, for example. So we're looking at an agentic workflow where we're going to be developing agents that are going to allow us to do that. And in doing that, we're going to be able to, for example, research our prospective clients, and be able to understand what scale of lending they need, and then we want to just streamline all the steps towards closing that sale, and making sure that they can be approved as quickly as possible, and that we're leveraging AI in a way that's going to like accelerate and augment that process for us, for the in-person process.
So, help me out a bit here. So, are you going to use AI to approach potential customers, or how should I view that?
We're going to be using AI in a way that's going to be for our own research. We'll be able to use AI to research prospective customers, and then we'll be able to use AI to, through our own agentic sales workflow, in order to, for example, things like documents. When applying for filling out an application, there's going to be things like uploading documents. So we're going to find ways to facilitate that process, which is normally a very kind of, you can fill out a PDF and so on. We're going to find ways to facilitate that process. And then also with follow-ups, like making sure that we can we can use our own AI to summarize past contact with that potential client, and we can do follow-ups in order to like remove any blocks for them, make sure they know all their options, and really just get them to where they want faster than has been done traditionally.
So, my question here is, are you going to use existing software or develop your own in this?
We are actually in the process of exploring that, because there are definitely agentic platforms out there that are already set up for this kind of work. So we're in that beginning stage of finding the right setup. Um, and But yeah, there are quite a few options out there that we're looking at. It's very tempting to go with the no code option, because I think that's going to be something that's going to streamline the process, and it's going to be a lot easier to rather than trying to get into the code aspect.
But working with no-code platforms also has inherent risk, I presume. So
And exactly.
let me explain my question.
Yeah.
Um, I love the idea to build a company as lean and mean as possible and automate as much as you can as for starters, right? That's the basic principle. We keep the cost low so can have a great offering to our clients. We don't need hundreds and hundreds of people. I presume that's part of the idea to be efficient and keep costs under control and give part of that advantage to your customers and of course hopefully make a profit. Um, but if you become fully dependent on in your business model on external software supply, an external software, a no-code platform, whatever brand, doesn't matter. Doesn't that introduce a big risk into your company? And to start, I understand it's easy and fast, and etc. And you can test the market, but at some point, hopefully, you become bigger. And if everything goes through that, you sort of have a risk you can't control.
Yeah, because we're dependent on a platform. We're circling back to like our original ask.
Yeah, but in a different way. Here it is, you start off with zero and you automate as much as you can to get to the market, right? That's one thing. And there you have a company that's already established, has all the channels, and automates part of what's happening in those channels. It's a different approach. You start with zero and automate almost 100%, and there they are, 90% is not automated, and then they start using AI and maybe no code platforms to get to a certain automation level. It's a different approach. Your customers will know better than everything is automated. They'll expect that. So that's a different strategic approach also towards cost, and that's why in the previous company where they come from less automation and moving towards more automation, their core capability is something else, right? Your core capability is facilitating the lending and getting those machines or trucks in an automated way, right? A regular bank is okay, they have to automate, but they facilitate lending to buy something. It could be private or a business owner. So your strategic approach is different. And so the risks are also different. If it
Mhm.
doesn't work, you don't exist. You have no fallback scenario.
Well, at the end of the day, this work line of work is still like person to person. Like we're contacting people, we're doing the sales in person,
Ah,
or we're starting off in by phone. So really, it is grassroots, like in person. You know, calling companies, establishing and building those relationships. So in that sense, it's great because we don't have to use the technology. Let's say we, like you said, like we become dependent on, let's just say, a platform, and that platform doesn't work out. It doesn't put us out of business. Like we can still continue to work the old fashioned way, if you will. But that's a great call out. It's, do we go with the convenience of the no code platform, or do we go with and create something, or maybe it's in the immediate, it's having some no code um, you know workloads or workflows rather, um, while we'll build out something more from scratch, that takes longer, but then we have control over that. So is finding that balance, as you know, with any startup, is just getting it off the ground, and striking a balance between these, the convenience, the speed, versus creating something that you have full control, but that will take longer. So I think both have their merits. But the nice thing is to go back to no matter what, to still have the ability to make calls and find clients and build it up.
so if I understand correctly, you're using the AI to augment whoever's working in your company on the sales side or customer service side to do better or make life easier, but it's not to replace the human for now, for the human in the loop.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So That's very common, but that means if it doesn't work, you can still function. That's good to hear.
It is, yes, exactly. And I think that's myself. Mental sanity is knowing that we're not dependent on the AI, but it's there to augment us. And but we have to develop it in a way that is going to. It's not going to put anything in jeopardy. We have to be making those choices at the beginning, at these starting stages.
I just realized something because all those pieces of equipment, right? Trucks and tractors, I don't know, they have a certain financial life or actual lifetime, lifespan or depreciation period. I don't know what it is in Canada. Um, but it would be interesting if you could have like a data source or something with the age of the trucks and the tractors and other stuff, and use AI to analyze which companies are up first or to replace their equipment because they'll probably need the financing of it.
Yeah, yeah, I see where you're going with this, like just to have visibility on the lifespan of the trucks, or when their leasing is going to be up so that we can anticipate and predict.
Yeah, and understand which I understand probably a tractor they will use longer than a company that buys trucks and uses them and depreciates them and then replaces them, especially also in the hunt for being greener. There's also something going on. So I can imagine that you would use AI to find companies that want to go green or companies that have a, if you can figure that out through the public information, a certain depreciation time of their assets, and use that. Okay, so we look at the numbers in their yearly reports. We analyze it from the last couple of years, and we see what happens. It augmented or it went down. So you know that whether they invested or not. So you could create algorithms that would actually do all the hard the number crunching and the hard work for you and find those companies that are eligible or ready to invest without them even knowing that you analyzed it, basically based on data that's publicly available, or maybe you can have access to a database that gives you the information on who owns which assets, maybe for trucks or cars. I don't know if it's a public database or you can buy it. Sometimes you can buy that information.
Yeah, no,
Um,
that's a really great thing that we're. It's one of the things we're aiming towards is understanding like the equipment, and how to be able to access that information.
yeah, because uh, data is, if you want to use AI, then clean data, good data is actually where the magic happens. I was thinking something else, if you don't mind me thinking with you, because you could also turn it around and offer how should I say that, an advantage. Look at it from this side. If you're are you also leasing stuff, or you're just providing the lending and the money?
Well, we work with companies that provide the lending,
Okay,
so they have all different options.
so you're the in between. So what if, let's say, you could collect 20 companies that want to buy a Mack truck or a Volvo truck or whatever truck. They all need the same trucks. You could combine their buying power and say, okay, first of all, you need the financing, but if we can reduce the financing for you by buying as a collective, why not? If
Hmm.
you're amassing the same needs, why wouldn't you combine it as a buying powerhouse?
Yeah, no, that's a great call out. Like how do we find bring more value by combining?
Well, it's actually, it would be a marketing thing because you would go to your customers or potential customers and say, listen, put yourself on our list. What is it that you need in a year and in 2 years' time? And we might have a great deal because we're already ordering for our collective customers 20 Mack trucks or 40 Mack trucks or whatever. or Volvo, whatever. Yeah, and the more we order, the better the price. So, and maybe if you order 3 months earlier than you would have actually planned, you get a better deal. And the only part of the deal is that they get the financing through you guys.
Right.
So, and basically, you're working on both ways. You're working in their interest to lower the price and lower the financing. Okay, eventually, you might sell a little bit less per customer, but you might attract more customers doing it. And to be honest, it is a very honest, transparent, and fair way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 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 I could see. Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely a possibility. I will definitely take it away and see if that's something that's actually doable for our industry. Um, but yeah, I like where your mind is going with this. Definitely.
Well,
Um,
AI can do the work for you. If you understand
yeah.
what it is, you can find those companies that are uh, either using that kind of stuff or are in the market for it, making sense on tons of variables. As a human, it's almost, it's too much to do.
Well, exactly. Like there is so much data out there, and if we can find that data in terms of this particular industry, that could really make a difference in terms of for companies themselves, like just finding better deals.
It's interesting because probably a lot of the information you'd be looking for would be in the yearly reports of those companies, especially if they're bigger companies. They would have to state I mean, the worth of their assets, right?
Hmm.
And if it's machinery and it's being depreciated, you would be able to find that somewhere. And maybe it says in the description, we acquired 25 trucks. And if you can go back 5 yearly statements or yearly reports, you find, oh, 5 years ago they bought 25 trucks. I don't know, something like that.
Hmm.
Just and AI, if you collect the information, it's AI that can do the work for you.
Right.
So
Yeah, yeah.
just
I,
sorry.
I think that could be definitely a huge thing for this industry is how to leverage these reports, and then seeing like what can we do in terms of like predicting what kind of equipment they will need in the future.
Yeah, and who are you targeting? The buying managers or the marketing people or the sales? Who are you targeting within those companies?
Yeah, I mean, like we're targeting the heads, the financing in those companies.
That makes sense.
Yeah, they are the ones to talk to, whether there be in agriculture sector or in construction, machinery, like you said. Yeah, so those are our key finance people in those companies.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Hmm.
But going back, you started off as conversation designer. All of a sudden, you're a founder and you're involved in AI development. Um, are you still going to develop conversations or design conversations, or you're going to
Yeah.
leave that world behind you?
Well, at this time, I'm still contracting, as a conversation designer. So, but as a founder, like we anticipate needing like some basic like FAQ chatbots to answer things like, how to apply for a loan, like just the
The
basic
simple stuff.
stuff. Yeah, the basic stuff. But we're really not targeting the general public. So I think those our customers are not necessarily going to be the ones that are going to come to our website, for example, for lead gen. There may be a few that might use our lead gen chatbot, but I anticipate that these users are not necessarily ones to be, they're more in person, rather than like spending a lot of time on tech options like apps and websites and whatnot. So I think from that point of view, that's why our number one approach is really to just elevate sales internally, help myself and my partners do their jobs in a more streamlined kind of way, help us research, you know, streamline some of those like workflows. So in terms of my conversational design experience, I think it's more the mindset of like, what are some of those automation opportunities? And also for me, like as a conversation designer, I always go back to my customer service days, uh, where I work with like the first telephone banking, for example, and understanding IVR, and understanding like just that customer service mindset first. So that's, it translates into sales and translates into conversational design. And so I really think of it, okay, different channels, but still the same mindset. Even though I may not be going, creating lucid charts anymore day to day, but there might be, lucid chart that shows the sales process, and then to understand where in that process. So it's really the thinking, the logic, the customer service workflows. How can we become more independent and more successful, drive more sales? How can we make it easier on our users too, and without asking them to change anything, like helping them, for example, forms, application forms, they're still for the most part very outdated. And we know that chatbots are not the way to go with forms, because it would add way more turns than it ever needs to be. And yet there's a great opportunity to just improve that form application process. And so there's still so many ways that our digital world is in some ways outdated, and needs to, with even basic things, that we're gathering information, how can we do that in ways that's more user friendly? um, so it's, for me, it's not that I'm, you know as much as I do love the day to day of conversation design, and I like that piece of, creating a solution and so on. I think it's, for me, I'm going to be applying some of the thinking behind that in as a transition, as in my role as founder and salesperson. There's still going to be a lot in there that translates, because I always think holistically, how can I apply my skills and use those skills in a way that is going to fire up the work that I do now.
I hear that a lot more. And the reason I asked you about the conversation design is because we decided we're haven't done that for a while in the podcast to test a chatbot, and you chose one, not from a small company. So please share your screen.
Oh,
And
yes.
who are we going to test?
Yes, so I chose PayPal.
Our friends at PayPal.
Friends at PayPal.
So
Yeah, so I, let me just log into my passkey. I am presently logged in, so I do have a PayPal account. And just give me a moment. Face ID. There we go. All right. You should be able to see the PayPal
yeah,
screen now.
I can. Make today rewarding.
All good on your end, right?
Yeah.
Awesome. So
So
I'm just,
there's no chatbot at the opening screen.
that's correct. Yes. So I had to go into, I went into contact, and then now here I see this little how can I help you icon on the bottom. I also see the access here under recommended. They have messages, and they provide a bunch of different other ways of contacting them through the community resolution center and calling them directly. So it's nice that,
Interesting that messages and PayPal Assistant are two different things.
yeah, like in here. Do you mean here, like
Well,
this?
it says here PayPal Assistant. Here says chat with PayPal Assistant immediately or leave a message for an agent. Where here it says we use the automated processing of personal data when you interact with this customer service chatbot. So here it says leave a message for an agent, and here it says customer service chatbot. So either it's two different things, or it's the same thing. They just didn't change the description properly.
Yeah, I wonder. That's a really good call out. I wonder which one it is.
Well, you were talking before about the holistic approach, and I said we should pay more attention to the other channels and crossovers to other channels and backup scenarios. So that's why I was looking. It's like, okay, well, we pay attention to crossover to other channels and
Yeah,
handovers,
exactly.
but this is a
Exactly.
different story. Maybe it's the same. I don't know.
It,
Actually, I'm curious. Could you click on messages, see what opens?
yep. Let's see. Maybe it's the same. Let me just close this one out. And it looks
It's the
like it
same.
is the same.
So they have a description problem. And one other question to the bottom left on the in the chat screen, there's these three little lines where you can next to the message
Oh, okay. Yes.
box. I was
Yes, this
curious what
one.
happens.
So it says show recent conversations and end conversation.
Okay,
So
great.
that's, I like that it preserves the history there. So that way, let's say last week I inquired about some money transfer. I like that it's going to keep that memory there.
But we have to understand you're logged in. There is no chatbot if you're not logged in.
That's right.
That's
There may be. Let me try that. Let me see if I log out if it changes anything, and I go into contact and let's see. It's
message
still
goes.
log in. Okay, so it is. Please log in to send us a message. So it's forcing me to. So there's no. You're absolutely right. So there's no way to
To
do
connect.
that.
That's interesting. If you would have questions and you want to become a customer, you can't talk to them.
You cannot. No, it seems like, which is not really fair, is it? Right? Like if I'm a prospective customer and I'm considering PayPal and I want to just get a feel for the chatbot, and that maybe that's part of my decision to sign up is to see like how is this assistant going to answer future queries. However, it's not open to
So
non.
your first customer service experience is actually you can't have a customer service experience before other than you have to become a client first, or you
Yes.
have to make an account. Okay,
Um, Yeah, so this is a very important first call out is the fact that it doesn't cater to users that are not signed up.
and here remember we talked before personal data.
Mhm.
It says we use automated processing of personal data when you interact. Okay,
Yeah.
but it doesn't say no terms and conditions. Apparently, you already accepted those. It doesn't say what it does with it or not does with it. If you can have any influence on it. So,
Yeah.
but it is processing your data, and what personal data doesn't say either, because you're logged in already as a customer. I would be curious, what the hell are you processing? Because how much money I got in there, or who am I paying to? What? All of it is personal.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. Like if you see that, you think, okay, well, we use the automated processing for personal data. And I would expect to understand a little bit more about that.
So let's ask it a question. Do you have any ideas, any suggestions to start with?
Okay, so let's go with my payment didn't go through.
Sure.
Okay, so you need help with a declined payment. Um, let's go with no.
See what it comes up with.
Found some articles in our help center that might help you. Check them out if you need more help.
Declined. Declined.
Yes,
All of it is declined. And we say,
all of
no,
it's
it
declined.
wasn't.
Yeah,
I don't
so
need help with the declined payment. This is like, okay, you, um, this is intent based.
it's very much intent based. It doesn't seem to have Gen AI here. I could be wrong, but so far.
Or if it is Gen AI, then it didn't read it well.
Right.
So now, and I missed the question. Did that answer your question?
Right. And there's
Did that
no,
help?
Yeah, if you
Just
need
tell
more
it,
help.
this is shit. This didn't help. Let's see what it
Yeah,
does.
it
This
does
was
say if
shit.
you need more help, please rephrase your question or type need more help.
Ah, okay. They shouldn't have done that in that message, but after all the options.
Yeah, it should have said that. It's almost like anticipating. Okay, so let's see what happens if need more help.
You might be transferred to a live agent. There you go.
Okay.
Oh, hold on. Read this. Would you like to? You're in a
Send
chatbot and you
conversation.
need help. Would you like to send this conversation to a customer support agent? We typically respond within a few hours. A few hours. I'm here now.
Yeah.
Now, the interesting thing is it's a Sunday when we're recording this. So
Mhm.
it might be because it's a Sunday.
It could be. Yeah, they may not
Then
have
they should say, so listen, it's a Sunday. We have, just for emergencies, we will respond to you on Monday.
That's
And
right.
they know from your IP address you're in the same time or sort of the same time zone.
Yes.
If I would do it, it would be different. It would be in a different time zone.
Right. And I wonder if it would respond to you any differently. But would you like to send this okay, let's say
No,
yes.
no, no. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Uh,
If you haven't already, let us know why you're contacting us. Feel free to step away and we'll notify you by email or push notification when we've responded.
That's you want instant satisfaction and you get zero.
Yeah. 0. Okay, so let's try something different. What do you want to ask?
I have another question.
Yeah.
Just type. I have another question.
Okay, I have another question. Nope, it's not reacting. Have additional details.
It assumes it's an additional detail.
Right.
I presume.
My payment didn't go through, um, even though my credit card details are are good. Okay, so I
Yeah,
guess it's just gathering
it's
information.
for the live agents.
Yeah,
Um, just say I need more help, or I want to go back to the chatbot. See what it does.
yeah. Help. Yeah, it seems like there's no way to get back, or maybe it's menu. Let me see if I can go to menu, or
Yeah.
restart.
And what was already in the three dotted lines? Was there something we could do, like
It's just show
end
recent
conversation?
or
And
end
you can
conversation.
restart.
Okay, let's try that.
Oh, you just saw? You
Oh,
were connected to Harsh,
yes.
and we disconnected.
Yeah, it was just coincidentally, it kicked in. The agent came in at the same time as we disconnected.
So that is stupid. Why do you say a few hours and then
Right.
it's minutes? Compliments that on a Sunday they're there within minutes, but
Yeah, I felt like it could have set better expectations.
yeah. Okay, but let's go back to the chatbot. Ask the chatbot what it can do for me, for you. What can
Yeah.
you do for
What
me?
can you do for me?
Which is a normal question to ask.
Would you like to send this
Oh
conversation
my
to a
God.
customer support agent? We typically respond within a
Just
few
say
hours.
no.
No.
And that's it. Oh, I was going to say that's it.
Hmm.
Okay, you can ask another question.
Um,
Can you help me making a payment?
help making payment. Payment. So you need help making a
Yes.
payment? Yes.
Let's see what it does.
Are you trying to send money to another PayPal customer? Yes.
Just go with the flow.
Happy to help. You can find instructions on how to send money through PayPal here. How do I send money?
Oh, don't click on it. Just say I tried, doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. tried. It doesn't work.
Where's your
Oh, so
comment?
it's, would you like to send this conversation to a customer support agent? We typically respond within a few hours.
Just say no.
No. No problem.
And then yes or no.
And then yes or no, what's the point of that? There's no relation. Okay.
Yes, it is a problem. Click yes, see what happens.
Is there anything else I can help you with? Oh,
This is really weird.
that showed up after I clicked yes.
This is really weird. That makes no sense. That's a glitch.
That
And then
is
how may I assist you? Okay, but what did we, as anything else? Okay, it was slow to, how did that happen? That was really weird.
you do for me. Let's see.
Probably won't understand.
How may I assist you? Oh, would you like to send this? See, it just kicks into this line if I want to send it to an agent.
Just say no.
So it's not really helping to keep me in the conversation.
And again, yes, no, and not.
Oh gosh, it's not trying to help me, is it?
I have not. Just say I have another question. And it's useless.
Another question. There's definitely room for improvement. Oh, okay. I found some articles in our help center that might help you. Check them out. If you need more help, please rephrase your question or type need more
This is
help.
really weird. I have another question, and they send, how can I create and send an invoice?
Yeah, it doesn't even ask me what my question is.
So actually, it could be hallucinating into, she wants to know about invoices.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but I'd never said anything about an invoice. So I don't know how it even came to that topic.
Oh, that's just type that's the wrong subject.
Okay, let's go with that. Wrong subject. Let's see what it says. Would you like to send this conversation? Oh boy.
Actually, that's what they. If they're not right, then I tell them it's not right. They
Yeah,
immediately, but then it should be instant going to a live agent, not a few hours. And then
that's
the
right.
end. The
And then it says, oh, okay, is there anything
yes,
else I can help you with? Yes.
yes. Can you track a payment for me?
Yeah, okay, that's a good one. Can you track a payment? Payment.
What I see, there's
And it's
yes,
interesting that that happens. That see how that happened? I put in my question,
and
and
then
then
you
the
get
next thing I see is yes or no, which throws. And then when I scroll, then I see do you need help with? So the visibility of their follow up question is not there unless I scroll down.
yeah. It's really weird.
Mm-hmm. Do you need help with payment
Cool.
inquiry?
Yes, please do.
Yes. Okay, it detected that intent. That's good. Would you like to send this? Well, no, I don't. I
This
don't.
chatbot literally can't do anything.
It's actually just helping to.
It's filtering for live agents, but it can't give you right answer. This probably gives them more work than less.
It's creating more work. It's not helping me as a customer. Now I want to call them to find out some information.
That's also this is a great one. Call us. We'll answer as soon as we can. And in the chatbot, you say, "Oh, it might take a couple of hours to get to a live agent."
Yeah,
I'd be like,
very
"Okay,
different expectation setting. Let's see, what else can we ask?
different
Um,
standards that they need. Tell them I lost my password.
well,
See what happens because you're logged in.
mhm. Let's see. Okay, so you need help with logging as password issue? Yes. That's good. It detected that intent.
Sorry, again, it's transferring.
Would you like to send? It's stuck in this loop, isn't it? Where it doesn't know how to. Yeah, even here, I would expect it to give me some articles about passwords.
It's simple information, and probably
Yeah,
the life agent would use it as well.
yeah.
Um, just say no, and then one last question. I think we've seen, unfortunately enough, and it's easy to see how this could be improved.
Hmm. Um,
Um, let's no, yeah, and then they're gonna say anything else, and then yes. Hold on, stay logged in. Hold on, look at the.
hold on. Look, stay logged in. Wow.
You're typing, and it says you're not.
Yeah, it's not
Unbelievable.
detecting that I am actually already in the experience. Why would I want it?
How may I assist you? I got hacked. I'm. Oh, make a typo. See what it does.
Oops. So you think someone has accessed your account without your
Yes.
permission? Yes. Okay, that's good. It detected it, even with the typo.
Yeah, but that's
That should always happen. All right, I can help you open a case for a customer service team to investigate further. Yes. Have you noticed any recent transaction you'd like to report as fraudulent? Um, I didn't find any transactions on your account last 180 days. You'd like to add. Oh, what's
and then it logged you out.
oh, oh boy. Oh my goodness.
Uh, sorry. And an interesting thing becomes if you re-log in, is your chat conversation still active, or
Yes, let's see.
is it gone? I have this.
Okay, so I'm still logged in, and well, I had to re-log in. And so if I go to contact, let's go there and see if it's still got. Okay, how can I help you? And
Oh,
let's
it
see.
takes long. Oh,
Okay,
it's
so
still
it's
there.
still there. Okay,
Cool.
that's good. Since we're not able to find transaction on your account, you may be facing one of the below issues: suspicious email, text message, spam invoice, and none of the above. Okay, so
So,
at
so
least,
say the suspicious email text message because that's
yeah,
not that they can't view that.
right.
So, wow. It's,
I can definitely help with that. Did you receive this message through an email or SMS text? Let's say
just say
email
SMS. Oh,
or
email.
SMS. Sure.
Whatever. We'll blur out the numbers.
Okay.
The,
Here's a list of recent texts sent to that number. I wasn't able to find any text. So first it tells me here's a recent list of text, and then once it checks its API, I wasn't able to find it. Without
interesting.
clicking on any links on the text message, go ahead and delete it. Would you like to chat to an agent about this further?
Well,
No.
this is actually not half bad, but they should have said we're going to check,
Yes,
and then say we found or we didn't find
that's
any.
right. It's assuming that they're going to find something.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just say no.
Yeah.
I think we've seen because there's some connection with the data,
Mhm.
but yeah, um, just say I'm done. No, it says the button.
Oh, yes.
Sorry.
Have I resolved your issue or question today? I'm all set. No, I need more help. I'm just going to put I'm all set. And then, how easy or difficult was your experience with PayPal Assistant? Very difficult, difficult, not easy, difficult, easy, very easy, skip.
Up to you. It's your account.
Very difficult. What was difficult about your experience with PayPal?
Here they make a mistake. You say it's very difficult, so that means you're annoyed. If you're
Yeah.
annoyed, they should ask your permission to ask a few more questions. Is it okay if we ask you to make your next experience better? Can we ask you some questions about your experience? They're not asking permission. They're just shooting it at you.
Yeah, yeah, there's no way to they're not being very in this moment of frustration, they're not getting more information in a way that, makes me more amiable to it.
If they would be smart about this, and it's not a stupid company, it's a smart company, I would say, okay, would you be willing to answer a few questions about your experience so we can improve?
Mhm.
You would probably say yes. And then at the end, if you finished all the questions, they should say, oh, thank you for all that information. That's really helpful. We'll transfer $5 to your account
Mhm.
as a thank you for the $10, whatever, to thank you for your time for answering the questions about your experience. And then you would say, oh, wow. And they turn something not so good into something very good.
Mhm.
I would, it's better than the regular research, and you get actual answers from actual customers that tell you what's wrong.
Yeah, no, I love that. And, this approach of asking them for more feedback, lets them know like your feedback does matter. And I want to first get your permission to get that feedback. I think that's a really great suggestion on your part, instead of just jumping right into it, where as a customer, I might have already been like, okay, too frustrated to go on. So I think, asking them for more feedback is an important step to getting it.
Makes perfect sense. Well, Oliver, my dog decided to join us for the podcast.
Nice.
She doesn't agree.
It's her.
Um, Thank you very much. I think this was very insightful, and now she's trying to ruin my wall. This is very insightful, and especially also the testing, not especially the testing. It shows that there's still a lot. Hold on, 1 second.
Sure.
A lot of work to be done. A lot of work to be done,
Yes.
and I'm looking forward to hopefully PayPal contacting you to do this,
Yeah.
and we'll tag them in the post and see what they do. And
Yeah. Well, it's been a
well,
great conversation. Thank you for having me, and some really great questions you've raised, and we had a chance to like discuss and keep up the great work with the podcasters. And let's see what PayPal says. Hopefully, they will take some of our feedback.
let's see what they do. Thank you very much. And
Thank you.
sorry for the dog.
All good.
Bye,
Take care,
Olivera.
Doron.